I'm here at the International Conference for Men's Issues with the man who's put on the event, Mr. Mike Buchanan. So, Mike, how's the event been this year?
Astonishing. Yeah, this was the fourth conference in the series, and each one, I think it's true to say, is has been better than the last. I mean, absolutely outstanding. 20 speakers, all of whom went down very well, and just the sheer quality of the content. Each year it just improves and improves, and and I'm looking forward to the one next year, wherever that might be.
Excellent. And was there any standout moment in this year's conference for you?
There was a screening of the film American Circumcision yesterday, and it was the first screening of the film outside of the US. And it was just, there wasn't too much in there of like the actual operation of circumcision, but those scenes were just so harrowing. People were looking at the ceiling, staring at their shoes. A number of people walked out in tears, and I think it really brought it home. Because it's one thing to talk about circumcision or male genital mutilation, but to actually see the horror that it is, it was very deeply moving. But no, I think the talks were great. The talks were great, and they'll be up on YouTube in the next week or two, hopefully.
Yes, excellent. And I thought it was fantastic. This conference and the last one, because it's meeting people from all around the world who have been on their own struggles with men's issues, and also with dealing with the spectre of feminism, which seems to pervade every area of our nation and many other nations as well.
It's corrupted everything, and Janice Fiamango gave a very good talk this morning. And she was talking about just how deeply corrupted academia is, and it is. I mean, and this is not just some community. She said this is not a community college in Arkansas. These are, the whole of academia seems to have surrendered to these damnable women. So she was giving an example, talking about women from Harvard and Yale and Oxford and Cambridge and so on, and it's terrifying. The grip that radical feminists have on academia is absolutely terrifying.
And I mean, for me, it significantly undermines any actual intellectual value that these institutions claim to have, because you see these feminist idiots who are getting tenure and other social justice freaks who are being promoted to the rank of professor and are then spitting out their bile to the young students. And I think it's utterly awful what young students going into university today actually have to put up with. And apparently it's called an education, and I don't buy it.
You're absolutely right. So I mean, to me, it is as insane as if they were sort of professors of Father Christmas, and and students had to believe they were told about Father Christmas, and it was explained to them exactly how it is that Father Christmas gives presents to a billion children over the course of a few hours. Patriarchy has no more basis in reality than Father Christmas, quite frankly. And if there's any children watching this, I'm sorry for
ruining it for
them. But it's like, I mean, a professor of gender studies is like having a professor of tooth fairy studies. It is that detached from reality, I think.
Yes, I'd say the movement is completely removed from reality. And in the UK in 2018, we've seen a lot of feminist disinformation about the 1918 representation of the People Act, and they've rebranded this as a victory of women over evil patriarchal men, and are saying that women use their arm muscles and brute strength to force evil patriarchal men into giving them the vote, which men always had. And I've seen people in the real world who have voiced these types of opinions, and this has just been everywhere in the media this year.
It has. I mean, it's just nonsense. I mean, probably the best account I know of about the suffragettes delayed female emancipation. These great heroines of the feminist movement, they delayed female emancipation, and the story is very well told in Steve Moxon's The Woman Racket, and he just debunks every sort of element of it. I mean, the reality is that, for example, I mean, more than half of the men who died or were maimed in the First World War in the trenches and so on didn't have the vote.
Yes.
And so, but historically, huge numbers of men died in the struggle to get the vote, and not one woman died in the struggle to get women the vote, and certainly not Emily Davison, who of course is a great heroine of the suffragette movement, a woman who thought that you could actually put a sash on a horse travelling at 30 miles an hour, and
Yes.
Which, of course, I mean, feminists have always presented as a risk of suicide and so on. It's complete baloney, of course. The only suicide related to that was the jockey on the King's Horse.
Right. Yeah.
And he was utterly traumatised by the death of Emily Davison, and later committed suicide. Put his head in a gas oven.
Yes.
And that was him.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. And I just see them, claiming that the suffragettes were these heroes when, I look at the reality and they were little more than terrorists.
They were terrorists. I mean, Emily Davison. How to describe Emily Davison? A bit of a Fruit Loop by all accounts.
I think so. Yeah.
She once attacked. I'm pretty sure it was Emily Davison. Attacked an elderly cleric on a platform. Thinking that he was the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Right. Okay. There's probably enough on her. But,
yes, it probably is.
Looking at some of the conference speeches and people who were involved, I was really impressed by the Reverend Jules Gomes.
Yes.
Who we saw give a speech this morning, and I was just making the point to him that we're seeing lots of different people from different backgrounds all come to the same conclusions about what's going wrong with society today, the problems that are developing, and I think the feminist movement, and he does as well, is absolutely integral to this collapse.
There is, his speech, of course, was called something like "How Feminists have destroyed the Church of England beyond repair." No, it was a very good talk, and we are seeing with each year that passes some unlikely bedfellows, I think, in this war. So Jules was the first cleric we've had at one of these things.
Yes.
I mean, I'm personally an atheist, but something I can see that religions have. I mean, going back thousands of years, they understand the human condition. Whatever you think of God or the existence thereof, and so no, his speech was great, really impressive.
Yes, I thought he was a fantastic guy. I think it's absolutely amazing what he's done with his. I mean, it's the rebel priest, and it's also the rebel congregation, because he's got his flock, and they've come along with him, and they're kind of going down this populist, anti-feminist route, and I think it's really impressive that the church is, we're starting to see some actual fiery rebellion against the cultural Marxists who are everywhere and who are trying to destroy everything.
I think the mainstream, if you like to call it that, Church of England is dying. I mean, that's the point he was making. So you get female clerics, female bishops, and their interest is in pushing feminism. An alternative religion, quite frankly. And of course, it's killing it.
Looking at Eric Anderson, the American professor, and I forget what subject he's a professor in.
He's a professor of masculinities and sports. I think something to do with sports as well, at Winchester University, and
he definitely spiced things up a bit on the first day.
Yes, I think some of the things he said people struggled with, but he got a good reception. But he was making the point, and he's made the point to me privately, that if when you talk about men's rights, because people don't care about men's rights, you're kind of on a losing wicket. So his thing is that we should be talking not about men's rights, but equal rights for men and women.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we had equal rights for men and women, there's only so many ways you get there. You either strip women of a lot of privilege, or you give men more rights. And so he calls himself a gender equality activist. So Eric is a really important figure, in the field of masculinities. I mean, globally. And Michael Messner, a sort of feminist masculinity scholar, allowed there to be published a paper in some recent journal that he edits, in which Professor Eric Anderson was described as the next wave in masculinities. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of think that he's got that, he's kind of on the wrong side of history, a feminist. So I think really, really interesting time. And he's a remarkable guy, Eric. I think he's creating waves. And he kind of enjoys creating waves as well.
He does, yeah. I noticed this. He's somewhat boisterous. And
he is. But he's totally up for the fight. So, I mean, the more he's attacked, the more that'll charge his batteries.
Sure.
I'm looking forward to him really, really shaking up academia in the whole area of masculinities and gender studies in years to come.
I think that Alison Tiemann did a fantastic speech.
She did, yeah. I can't remember the title now. It's something about compassion for men.
It was a really interesting and intricate breakdown of the situation, and as it is, I guess, in the world today, and the fact that this affects everyone. This failure due to feminism, and how there is a lot of oppression, but it's going on with the enemy, with the social justice warriors, and people who are part of that they're being trapped and enslaved, and in a way we are the people who are actually free of that, and so we're kind of forging our own way in life. And
so she was talking about the misery machine. Was it Misery Machine? I thought that was very good. I hadn't heard that one before. And she also talked. I mean, we all talk about the red pill and the blue pill, and she managed to talk about the silver pill, the black pill, the white pill.
It was a lot of pills going on.
More pills than the Munich Beer Festival. What can I say?
Yeah, more pills than the Hacienda, I guess. Yeah.
No, it was a great speech, and it went down the storm.
Yes, and I got to meet Cassie as well.
Okay.
And that was fantastic. And I mean, she made an amazing film, and she came to London to our conference as a honeymoon.
Yes.
She got married a week ago, and
just a week or two ago, and and I guess she and her new husband watched Paulie Lamb and myself kind of saying marriage is hell.
Yes, yeah.
Hell for men, I should say, but more that it's very risky and so on. So, no, she didn't say anything to me about that. But she's just such, she's a lovely woman. People warmed to her so quickly, and her film, was just kind of so important, wasn't it? It's just so influential.
It's a great film to watch, and I think that people who do watch it, it's a fantastic introduction to this subject, and it perfectly brings in someone who is maybe not interested in these issues, or is a complete layman into these issues, and also I think it's very useful for women as well, a useful introduction for women into this subject, because you see her experience of actually taking the red pill.
Yeah, because she starts off as a feminist. She was quite clear about it. She was intent on doing something sort of exposing the men's rights movement, this hate movement, keen on rape culture and God knows what else. So she has this video diary, which is like a gold thread that runs through the entire thing, doesn't it? And the women really relate to that. So she starts off as a feminist, and you can just see. In some of them, she's in tears, isn't she, or close to it, or in tears, and you can just see she's having to sort of unlearn so much stuff that she believed, and then through exposure to men's rights activists, I guess over a couple of years or so, wasn't it? She learned that so much that she'd taught and so much that she'd been taught and she believed was just complete nonsense. It was lies.
Yes, absolutely. I'd like to give a shout out to your new girl, Elizabeth Hobson, who has joined J4MB as Head of Communications.
Director of Communications.
Director of Communications.
And she went down an absolute storm, didn't she?
Her speech was fantastic.
Her speech was awesome. But no, Elizabeth gave a great speech. and she is just a natural communicator. You know, she's been on the BBC radio a couple of times recently, and she came close to being on BBC TV just 2 or 3 days ago. And she's a delight to work with. You know, and so many people there just enjoyed her company, and it's great to see, you know, a young woman happy to say she's an anti-feminist, yeah, just you know, great to have her as a colleague.
Yeah, very clear in communication, and very much makes the points she wants to make.
Yes.
And also is in this from a humanistic perspective.
Yes.
And you know, I think she was brought into it by caring about her 2 boys and
Yes.
wanting to create a better future for them, and believing that was becoming impossible due to feminism. And I'm seeing more women who are coming into the movement for precisely that reason.
I think so. And she recently did the empathy questionnaire in Simon Baron-Cohen's book, The Essential Difference, and she is very, very high on the empathy quotient, which is, I think, very much part of why why she is who she is and how she cares about men. So no, but I mean, this time we had more women than ever before.
Yes, yeah.
But apart from having people from at least 20 countries again, yeah, I mean, the women loved it, didn't they? They just
yes, yeah.
Yeah. And we had Dr. Catherine Hacking, the world-renowned sociologist, and she I think found it pretty eye-opening.
Oh right, interesting. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Yeah, I'd also like to give a shout out to Jordan Holbrook. He did a pretty good speech today on his Women Who Should Be in Prison YouTube series, and some fairly horrific examples of women who should be in prison.
He did, but there were some laugh out loud moments, weren't there? With it being Jordan.
Yes, exactly.
He throws in stuff that, you know, it makes people explode with laughter.
Yes,
yeah. So no, but I mean, there were no real. I don't think any real duffer speeches, were there?
No, it was really good. Yeah, no, it was absolutely fantastic. And finally, obviously, Karen Strawn as well.
What to say about Karen Strawn? I mean, she is just. She is the star of these conferences.
And she's committed. She keeps on coming. So obviously she gets a lot out of it.
She does. But she's absolutely adored by people. I mean, she was so important. I mean, at the first conference in Detroit in 2014, I remember speaking to people, you know, asking them what brought them into this movement, and 3/4 of the people would say a Karen Strawn video.
Right. Yeah.
So now I think she started doing her video blogs in 2010, and she was doxxed a couple of years later. Somebody said who she was and where she lived and all this kind of stuff. But no, her influence. I mean, again, just a mind-bogglingly good communicator. I take my hat off to Karen. She's awesome. I mean, it wasn't a long speech, but it's a very good speech.
Yes,
and it gave time for a long Q&A. So I thought that that was really special.
Excellent. So yeah, overall it was an absolutely fantastic conference, and
Indeed.
I'm looking forward to the next one already. More than that, I'm looking forward to having some drinks now. So let's do it. Yeah.
Okay,
Cheers. Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
Excellent conference. Cheers, man.
Thank you.